Welcome back to the Florida Association of School Administrators Finals for Rocket League. Again, Monkey Man and Bearlight back here with you as we have gotten through the tech problems that are inevitable, it feels like, at esports events. And it's everything, hardware, software that you got to be ready for, Monkey Man. But listen, we've got a new, fresh lobby. These players are after it. They're going to make sure that they're locked back in. We mentioned you have to kind of have a strong mentality here moving in. So game one coming at you. We've determined it'll just be a blank slate, so it'll be a 0-0 game going into game number one based on the frame issues that was hindering some players' level of ability, and I couldn't agree more, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, if it's just ignore everything we said for the last 30 minutes. Nothing happened. Torpedo bats?
Nope.
What is that?
Yep.
Pigs? I've never heard of them. Let's see if it ends up going down one way or another. Because we got two teams, it's going to be a big one between the old Wolves out of Timber Creek High and Suncoast Polytech. Deja vu like crazy as the Renegades will be under fire to start off game number one.
And look at Timber Creek being named the Wolves, coming out with some hunger on the attention to detail when we talk about physicality. First bump out to them. A bit of a pre-flip trying to challenge that back wall, but it was defended nicely there as Suncoast Polytech High School was ready for it and positioned well in order to really deal with some of that pressure early from Timber Creek, and is back on it themselves for some offense. Great job to pull off in the 50-50, but a missed touch. Oh, I thought I was going to leave it open, but luckily they're able to recover in time.
There's one player in particular that has been showing up here for the Renegades, and that is the one that just made that save. Soapy has been looking just clean with it so far. There's going to be a lot of reliance for their mechanics to definitely showcase and strut some stuff. Connection to Xenox. They opened things up with a strike from downtown.
And it was Soapy up in the air to just get that minimal touch. It's all they needed, a little bit of speed to beat the back man. And although a touch was inevitable there from Pinkish on the backside from Timber Creek, couldn't get enough on it to deter that ball. A 1-0 lead as we restart things, and it's the Renegades off to the hot start.
You're the Wolves, you're probably shaking your head. You're like, oh, okay, I had a connection. They stopped for all of like a half second there, Bear. You can definitely tell whenever you go kind of full pause in Rocket League, it's one of the most detrimental things. You have to kind of keep to a flow, keep to a pattern, keep to a rhythm moving around this pitch. And as soon as you go to a full stop, it ends up being just kind of a big negative in that column. Soapy's going to try and receive this one. Ends up off the top of his hood. This is one man trying to get in the way, and that's Gummy, who comes up big with a save.
Like the Soapy just jumped on that one, no hesitation attitude, was able to cut the corner in order to get to it next. Defensively mindset, you like the rotation defensively, but sometimes you have to jump in and know the right time to get through to make a big save, and Soapy was able to accomplish that. But Timber Creek was right back onto it, but the Renegades back on it again. This will be all the way back into the Wolves zone and read nicely, but a big chop at it from the defensive side, and Timber Creek will put the foot on the gas.
This is a long tech pause if you really want to think about it, and as well as a kind of a long timeout that really was necessary, I think, for Suncoast Polytech to feel a lot better going into now this completely fresh set of grand finals. They're not shock and awe campaigned anymore. They're definitely running it down against the Wolves every opportunity that they get. Now, sometimes they've been leaving a gap. This one going to be picked up well. As Gummy will find that corner boost, but they have a teammate right next to them. I think that's in the form of, not Soapy, their opposite teammate. Either way, Timber Creek is going to try and pile things on as the Wolfpack. They've been doing a good job. Unfortunately for them, though, Renegades are looking a lot more sound and confident in their own back third.
And you can see that they're not, chomping at the bit to get to each next ball just because they feel like they need to, which means that Timber Creek's influence has been a lot less impactful than we saw in the first couple minutes the first time around. So they certainly have settled into their own, maybe gave them a chance to really shake off those nerves, have a chance to operate here on the offensive side of the ball. That's before Crispy Bacon was on it, but he was out of boost, and the touch a little bit away from himself too, so it didn't allow the chance for him to step in on the offensive side of the ball.
Xenox had gone for that early challenge, and I like that they've now really kind of brought that fight to the forefront. Double commit into that same rotation. Thick Piggy was kind of our opening runner. A lot of great dribbling right here. Soapy's not going to let them get a shot up. as that one goes off to the backboard and away they go. So suddenly all options have been just depleted, deteriorated, disappearing. Our Timber Creek, Suncoast Polytech, they have all that one goal and that pass connection. Thick Piggy trying to get it over to at least one extra look. Pinkish to the sidewall, and this one has gone as far as the post, and that's about it. Waterfall down. Soapy will release.
And it's a chance for Crispy Bacon, but a great job to drop back down as the Renegades are ready for that opportunity. Otherwise, well, they're cashing in the piggy bank, but instead they're kind of held at bay here at midfield as Crispy Bacon will turn it. He's got Pinkish. Will now send it across. This will hit corner. Across to the box it'll go. And although it challenges temporarily, Gummy able to jump on it and relieve pressure yet again. Timber Creek has been on the offensive side of the ball, but hasn't been able to cash in. Maybe this is their opportunity. To the box they go, but that's as far as they'll go.
That one was one honest shot too many for Timber Creek. I feel like that they were so good whenever they forced some defensive answers and miscues out of the Renegades in that first game that I basically wasn't at all, because Timber Creek, they just forced them to have to meet pace, meet speed, meet mechanics. That's a fantastic challenge. Xanox is going to be in support as Soapy will get a nice demo onto Pinkish. They're going to thin out these numbers. That's going to be a big booming clear. Thick Piggy doesn't have a lot of boost, and it's going to give Soapy this opportunity, but he cuts that one down. They got to keep this one kosher for the next 15.
And look at them just diving in, getting a bump, but they left Xanox with a great opportunity to try to close it out, but they'll chop at it to keep it alive. Down under 10 seconds now. The bouncer read nicely. If they get this extra touch, will kill more time. To the box it'll go. Now they'll have to keep it up and go all the way the length of the pitch. If they want a chance here in this game number one, it will start its way down. It hits the corner, stays alive, but only temporarily. The Renegades will win game one.
Suncoast Polytechnic, you know, they're able to just kind of completely erase what was before. One of them is literally playing on a laptop, y'all. So give them some love. Both these players, both these teams also showing up here in our renewed game number one. So Timber Creek felt like they had the early offensive push, but it was that one solid connection from that, you know, start of the middle third there, Bear, that gave the Renegades the good to go for a 1-0.
Yeah, Timber Creek is certainly flirting with a lot of offensive chances, too. They've been all around the net. They just haven't been able to get it to really find the back of the net like they were that first time around. So I definitely wouldn't throw up a red flag by any means. They kept it close. So obviously, a 1-0 result would certainly highlight that. But that means that you have to be just as conscious of your efforts defensively as you were in that game one for the Renegades. Because if you let your guard down even once, you know that the Wolves are going to be knocking at the doorstep. They were basically all through game one.
I get to see, you can kind of tell body language, and when you're in traffic, I see it whenever I'm on the highway heading to work, and I see it as well in players when they're on the pitch. And there was a couple times that they were being challenged, and it was formed this kind of wrinkle between the brows, like, huh. So you see the car slow down, they have to go for that half flip, they kind of renegotiate their rotation. It's because they did not see this kind of gameplay in the first iteration of the beginning of this grand final. So here for now, this next one, a real game two, I promise. It's coming up into this best of 7. Do we keep with what Suncoast Polytech has been able to find, or does Timber Creek get a response?
It's tough to tell. You know, here I think Timber Creek does get the response, but I think it is kind of, I wouldn't say it's going to mentally break them by any means, but what I'm trying to get at is the last time around when we saw them, which was the fall 2024 when they won it all here in the state of Florida, it was a perfect 4-0. That's already out the window in game number one. Bye-bye. See you later. It's not going to be the same match as you saw last time around where it was just dominance by the Wolves. So is that enough to break a team mentally? Not this level of team. You see them already going for the throats here and already trying to bounce back.
You're also recognizing that they've been given a lot more space than they had before. That one nearly a 150-50. They've already had 3 shots in the last, 10 or 15 seconds. That's going to be something of maybe not a red flag or a red alert, but it's going to mosey the radar from green and blue over towards that yellow. And you've got to start kind of getting yourself out of harm's way. If you're Suncoast, that one kind of expecting a challenge. Pinkish went high. This one will go low. And hey, look at the man. He got a dunk before when it didn't count. This one surely does.
Yeah, and Pinkish, I like the fact that he's just up in a hurry, not because he's going to get that angle, but because he saw the last defender trying to dive at it to get that defensive challenge. If you get that touch and the third man is committing, it's going to be open regardless of who comes next. You just have to beat the defender at the ball at that point in time. The Wolves are able to do that to capture the 1-0 lead.
Remember our first game, it was a 1-0. That persisted for, I think it was the greater part of 4 minutes. So if you are this squad out of the Renegades, got to keep that in mind. There's a lot of juggling of this loose ball play, and it ends up at least getting a clear out. They give their life Soapy responsible for getting some extra grass between themselves and their own back net. Now, Crispy Bacon, I think they had like the tiniest little card change, making sure that they kind of stay kosher. They don't have any extra boost, relying on a flip reset to be collected. They're going to give it over to their teammate instead. They will steal that corner, and this is going to be tough, and it's a loose one that's slung into the back, and Thick Piggy will come up with their second goal.
Yeah, there's not much you can do there, unfortunately, as the last man back. So you realize that the rest of the team had kind of rotated and been stuck in that corner defensively, so Gummy went up for it. You get a touch, it's an own goal. If you don't, it's a goal anyway. So the Wolves able to put them in that compromising situation here to steal or to put themselves up 2-0.
Yeah, that one, that chance to try to just put a direct line shot. And I feel like for Soapy, that's a good reminder that this offense does, in fact, exist here for the Renegades. Suncoast Polytech has been stuck in their own back third for the entirety of these first 2 minutes. To the backboard, defensively it goes. Soapy tells both of his teammates to sit down for a second, and it's been stutter-started steps to get Suncoast Poly out of their own third. Timber Creek has been just running it down, rushing them up. This is a 1v1 because you send 2 players up. Soapy will divide, but it's looking like the Wolves might conquer as they finally get another save. Put back shot, another one collected.
So the defense hasn't gone anywhere from the Renegades. You know, just because you see the 2-0 lead, it's just the fact that Timber Creek's just onslaught of offense continues. That's another one by Pinkish, a beauty, and we'll make it 3-0. The only difference is that the Wolves are finally cashing in.
You know, if there's any D&Ders out there, one of the more dangerous level 1, level 2 interactions you get when your party's just starting off on their campaign is a bunch of heckin' wolves, especially a pack of them. They trip you up and they make you, you know, just kind of trying to find a way through. But if you're especially a spellcaster, you never really get something going. And that's exactly what Suncoast Polytech is looking like now. Gummy's able to find at least one. That will roll away. Soapy's hoping for some booze, and they will travel around from corner to corner. Crispy Bacon aiming for extra control, but we're well over midway here of game number 2, and Timber Creek, oh, wow. 4th one will bank.
Absolutely. And then, so it's really, I think, at least, a mental thing that has certainly started to click here from Timber Creek when they saw one go in. Because I mentioned in game number 1, it was a lot of just them kind of beating around the bush or like dancing around it, right? Everywhere but in the back of the net. I mean, they were hitting left, right. They were hitting it high, right? But when you see one go in, suddenly you just see the floodgates open up, especially with a team that is as dynamic as Timber Creek is.
Great news, and I've mentioned this several times on different kinds of broadcasts and all, is that for all the goals that they get, you know, in a big old donut against you, you definitely can't bring those goals with you. It is not a summation. It's going to have to be a performance that continues to thrive and progress. Less than 100 seconds to go, Timber Creek found a fantastic result. They realized that they were just kind of stymied out defensively. They've put on an absolute showcase. The failure gong will ring, I think, for the first time here on game number 2. But Suncoast Polytech, they would love just kind of one goal to really kind of kickstart this offense.
Yeah, just like we said, when Timber Creek saw one, suddenly they all started to flow here in game 2. The same applies across games, especially if you score a goal late in the game. So they're certainly looking for that bit of chemistry that perhaps will kick them along here too. But Timber Creek just trying to find, even if it's not just like a dynamic play, just any cheeky play they can to keep Suncoast Polytech at bay, and it's working.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing a huge breakdown in terms of communication by Suncoast. It just feels like they are not executing to such a degree and such an angle and such a pace that we have come to expect out of Timber Creek. This one will end up falling. I believe that this one was everyone kind of pointing backwards. Soapy got this one good kick out, and then kind of oopsie daisies got planted in the garden of Timber Creek High.
Yep, and at that point in time, you kind of force the hand of the last back, leaving on island, because if they touch it, you have an easy read as far as where they're going to go with it. So you needed an extra touch there. Unfortunately, when it goes backwards like that, well, you're guessing that they're going to touch it. It just falls into your net. So maybe the goal that we're talking about here for the Renegades to get them going.
All right, so they got that first one. And honestly, just kind of finding yourself into the series, into the game is kind of a big deal. They're going to try and rush another man down. Oh, the triple fake. Ain't no way. They're going to have to look at this one and be like, all right, Pinkish, we see you.
Yeah, there's nothing else you can do. I mean, that extra touch and then whoop.
Oh.
See you later. That is such great recognition. You have to have great peripheral vision as well in order to get that to happen, because I've been a victim of just trying to punch it. Oh, it's open. Go, go, go. Instead of just being patient. That is disciplined Rocket League and a beautiful goal.
All right, so a little bit of extra pizzazz brought down into what is otherwise a very stylistic win right now out of the Wolves. 15 seconds to go. Suncoast Polytech. It was a defensive effort. They basically won it the way that I guess you could see Big Ten schools kind of do it, Iowa versus Wisconsin style. But this time around, it was definitely all West Coast. It was crazy. But deep in the South here for FASA, we'll have a tied up series 1-1 before game number 3. And we start deciding how we're going to play this one out. Wolves will bounce back.
Yeah, great job to equalize the series, and that late goal as well. The triple fake is not only a beautiful goal where it has everybody in the gym going, oh, so does that shot count, first of all. Holy cow, 18 shots to 2 is what I'm looking at there for Timber Creek. I don't care how disciplined you are at Suncoast Polytech. If you're allowing that amount of shots from Timber Creek, it's going to be very difficult to win games, to say it very least, to say it very lightly. Have to be able to find some defense. You got to cut them off before those shots even develop. And that's that pestering that we said. They're going to throw everything at you. And you have to be not only ready for it, but you have to cut it off in the process there too. I forgot my previous point, but you know what, Monkey Man? That was very much the telling part of game number 2 at the end of the day.
It's because of all that offense. You can win by quantity and quality, and apparently that's what the Wolves were want to do of both. I've actually been on the weird opposite victorious end of receiving 20 shots and my team having 1, and we won that game. I'm just going to let you know. It's possible, but you don't want to live by counterattack. I don't think that's the way that anyone wants to have to play Rocket League. Everyone talks about, great defense wins championships. In Rocket League, send the offense. Make it happen, but also make sure that your opponents don't score. So we'll go to game number 3. Obviously, if you are the Renegades, you don't want to let a repeat of what just happened occur. But if you're Timber Creek, you want to make magic and lightning happen twice.
I remembered my point.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, not only was it a beautiful goal that the triple fake when that happens, it's also a confidence killer, because literally Suncoast Polytech, that momentum that they were trying to establish and got with that last goal potentially was after that happens to you, then they get a big goal like that, and that can make it difficult. And everything that you built to try to get that late goal to get that momentum is out the window, in my opinion.
You know what? That's a fair point. I'm glad you remember that point, because I definitely be like, all right, okay, is this the beginning of the end? Well, it's game 2. It's not a big deal. In fact, you won the previous game, so you're in a fine spot. Now, and we're getting to see something that was a rarity from last time. Suncoast Polytech sending the third man up as well. Xanox is trying to just kind of lay one up. They ended up a bit too close off of the second effort, but I love the extra efforts that we're getting out of the Renegades to try and pepper that backboard and see if they get anyone to dance. Oh my goodness, what a drop down pass. Third extra effort. Thick Piggy will force a pipeline save, and everyone's getting faked out again. Oh no, they will collide.
No, that was, a little bit less clean there at the tail end of that. But I do want to go back to that sequence offensively for the Wolves. That is what you see at D1 level college play. The cycling in, the no hesitation, and how quickly that they got from touch to touch, and that they were the next one to get to that ball was excellent. But that doesn't matter. Suncoast Polytech said, forget that. We'll take the lead 1-0. Soapy all the way up to the ceiling.
You know what D1 spells here, Bear? It spells done. And that's how you get it done. You get that one off of a fantastic pass play, just staying consistent. That's where Suncoast Polytech is able to thrive. They don't have to do anything too fancy. The fundamentals are there. They definitely have high mechanics and recognition that is punching from out of Soapy, and I think they're starting to recognize that. Going for the knuckleball play. Crispy Bacon, I think, was looking for more of a floor pinch to be able to get that one blustered up into the goal line. Xanox overruns this, and now Soapy has that peace of mind that he can at least get a connection, and that Pinkish isn't the one to find it thereafter.
Wow, just that close to being able to equalize. That's the Wolves when it looked like nothing was there. Back to the previous goal, Timber Creek and the Wolves, that little trip up that we saw at the tail end of the point we were making set up everything. So it proves to me for the Renegades that the Wolves are certainly not perfect. They might be incredibly strong in this state of Florida high school program-wise, but they make those mistakes too, and the opportunistic nature continues, like I mentioned before. And in fact, they'll have a little bit of offensive pressure here. 2 shot taken, but a little bit high there. But a good chance yet again for the Renegades.
That's also whenever you're kind of these collegiate coaches and recruiters, you're looking for who is coachable and who's able to kind of not just come out of maybe a system, maybe a 3-man play set that feels comfortable, but who can be able to adapt that at another level. And thus far, I've seen a lot of availability for this kind of talent to really thrive at a higher level. Pinkish is going to go get a flip reset. They're going to contain that and they're going to use it. Didn't get to travel any further. They get a helping hand to actually go steal their opponent's boost. This one's about Crispy Bacon looking for their own little short-handed double there at the near side post. 2 minutes to go, and Bear, is this starting to look eerily familiar to game number 1?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a cut, copy, paste here at this point in time. Even to the fact that Timber Creek has been all around it, not able to strike through because of it, and the fact that the Renegades are on it constantly, right? There's never a minute where Timber Creek has a wide open opportunity. They're making them work for it, and every time they work, it seems to be difficult. Well, that'll end that trend here as the Wolves will strike to equalize with a minute 40 left.
I feel bad for Soapy because he used some extra boost to have to go up the wall, and then he tried diving nose downward to get back to it, and his car just did not want to follow with that. Sometimes you end up at a falling rate, was it negative 9.81 meters per second squared, and gravity just ain't it with you. So, even with that extra propulsion, Suncoast Polytech will see them matched up now by the Wolves, and you know Timber Creek wants another one quickly.
No doubt about it. If you're just joining us here and are looking for Smash Bros from FASA, we welcome you in. A little bit of tech issues behind, but you get to witness such a strong series. You saw it was 1-1 in the game, 1-1 in the series, but Suncoast Polytech had something to say about it. They'll have the lead right back.
Soapy not going to let a chance go untested. And Crispy Bacon was trying to drop down from the backboard. That's what happens when you have those negative angled defensive postures. It's a good one, especially if you want to be able to kind of stand up against an aerial. Oh, Pinkish is left with no one in front of them, but they are able to cut it through. Another chance. They are sending everything in the house here out of the Wolf Pack.
And Selby just wants to relieve a little bit of the pressure. I don't blame him. That one was certainly mounting here, as this one will find its way back to Thick Piggy. Down to a minute left. They do have that extra touch, just getting it behind Selby and putting him in an awkward spot. He'll have to feel it, but it's already Pinkish on it yet again. Trying to challenge on the back wall, bumping them, but a great job to stay disciplined from Suncoast Polytech, and the follow-up will make it 3-1. You said those counterattacks, you can't live by them, but that's 2 in a row, and a 3-1 lead here for Suncoast.
You know what? If you're going to go by the same page of your playbook and make it the one way that you find victory, then you better just completely perfect the process. And that is what Soapy is doing. Pinkish was left on an island. He saw both of his teammates go forward and had no boost, was trying to send that ball offline, but all he ended up doing was just teeing it up for Soapy. So, Suncoast Polytech, they've gotten themselves in a great position. They do have a 2-goal lead. There's still just a little under 30 seconds to go. This one's within reach, but Timber Creek has to act fast.
Yeah, and they have to make sure that they get this out of their brains, as well, just the last couple of sequences, because that was a prime opportunity. You don't see them miss that often. What a shot. Follow-up is there. Suncoast Polytech coming to life.
You know what? We saw this angle attempted by Xanox on the left side. He does it from the right side, forces everyone to chase, and Gummy's like, all right, I just won't go too far. Let's see what the defender does. And the old pipes give him a good look. 4-1. Do unto the Wolves as they did unto you. Just took a little bit longer to get the total up there. 10 seconds to go. Suncoast Poly. The Renegades are alive and well, and they are forcing these Wolves to have to find a new way to win as they've taken this series lead back.
Yeah, Momentum Killer was not did not hold up strong, I will say. I will admit, as Suncoast was able to just tear through those operations and accusations and be able to get a win here on the board with a much more even shot count, literally dead even here in this game. So Suncoast came out swinging. They were able to accomplish that. Soapy and Gummy with 2 goals apiece, and they had Xynox just absolutely setting them up. Dime Master, as they had 3 assists of their own. That is a balanced play that is extremely difficult to go up against. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're defending champions or not.
Yeah, honestly. And looking back to the previous game, the shot total between both teams was 20. 18 for the Wolves. 2 for the Renegades. This time, 11 shots apiece. even outputs. It was the defense that had to come up and really force Timber Creek to have to battle their way through. But the variable play that we're getting not just out of Soapy, but also out of, kind of think of it as a support cast or as well. They know Soapy's really good, and both Gummy as well as Xanox are trying to just kind of find where they need to be, but not at the detriment of not attempting things themselves. Xanox, just off of drilling some of those shots, the accuracy getting between the pipeline really has now become threats. Can the Wolves bounce back? Because here's where we stand. Suncoast Polytech with a win here will be able to unlock match point first. Timber Creek would love to tie this one up sooner.
Game 4. Coming at you right now. Coming in hot is Suncoast Polytech. Did not look great in game number 2 and decided to turn it right around, put that out of the memory bank, and come out striking last time around with a decisive scoreline of 4-1. And now looking to get right back to it. Timber Creek, of course, you know, as their point of view, it's not often that they have to play from behind in a series, but it doesn't seem to bother them. Look at this opportunity. What a goal there from Pinkish as he took a beautiful feed from Crispy Bacon.
This is a heads up as well, because Pinkish is right in the middle of traffic and Soapy launches late, recognizing that he's already floating and has that forward momentum. Pinkish just has to complete his shot. And that's one of those things that is so impressive when it comes to someone that's sure-handed as well as just kind of ready to already unlock a particular kind of play in Rocket League Bear. Because I'm like, all right, how much of your mind is set on getting it to a teammate and adjusting, or how much of you is just literally going to rip something on target that you've already designed? That was a great one for Pinkish.
Just the control in the air, the tap to yourself, and then being able to follow it up. To your point, excellent one at that. Recognizing that you don't have to do too much, but at the same time, you have to stay focused is very difficult to do. Very underrated, in my opinion. Love that goal. And now Pinkish right back at it again. We'll get this extra touch. Maybe needs to leave it there and does. Serves as a fake, and Crispy Bacon with a bullet.
This is a team in the Wolves that just, as soon as they get one, they're going to have multiple. Thick Piggy went and forced Soapy to have to jump after him, and his 4 cars are basically, you know, cosplaying as a parking lot in that back hemisphere. It is another one that's immediately just zipped through by Timber Creek. Fake out, no one went, question mark, save, third one bounced. What happened there?
A lot of desperation from Suncoast off the bat, but yeah, I guess miscommunication as well off the rip. They try to bail themselves out, but I'm not sure. Maybe distraction, whether they're in, I know obviously it's a live environment, there could be a lot of things that happen, but plain and simple, you can't miss going for a kickoff.
You gotta be able to find your way forward. You know what? One thing that I do whenever I go solo queue in ranked, which, by the way, it's the worst experience ever. Don't do it. I have some friends. I don't have many. But when you do it, I hold down the trigger and the boost button just waiting for the countdown. Even when I miss it, I know when my controller starts to rumble, oh, I'm moving forward. That's really cool. So, gotta just move in. And these first 100 seconds have been punishing. Great save there by Gummy as Suncoast Polytech just tries to get their footing.
Well, you don't even have to be this tall to ride this ride, because it's been a roller coaster right now, and everybody's on board. If you're in chat right now, you're part of this roller coaster ride. As we've gone back and forth between decisive games, the only one that was close, honestly, was game number 1, where it was a 1-0 result in favor of Suncoast Polytech. But we have maneuvered well far past that point, and yet we've seen similar trends continue. Either Timber Creek comes out firing guns ablazing, or otherwise it's just Suncoast Polytech who's been able to at least hold off and then be able to create some offense of their own. But there's been none defined, at least in this first minute and 20 seconds of game number 4.
It feels like right now we are living in a land of who is making more mistakes. And it's not like both teams are making a surplus thereof, but it's the ones that have been basically capitalized on. When we got to see Suncoast really kind of rack up what was a rarity of a lot of offense in the previous game, it was Timber Creek that was kind of all over themselves. We have definitely seen rotations break down in kind of a negative aspect, when Suncoast Poly then, you know, was able to ramp up because of it. Timber Creek, they do the same thing. They are winning the mental landscape of this current grand final, and Suncoast is kind of left scratching their heads. That's a fantastic response, though, as Xanox will be able to find it. Soapy is in a one-on-one against Pinkish. He's not going to be able to win out because he's just a thread too far. Gummy, step up into the plate. This one should be rest assured, but no! Soapy will deny it.
That was great recovery speed. I have no idea how they were able to manage this one. Still in desperation mode, as Gummy will dive over to the corner and try to shield it. Off the back wall, it'll fall. Opportunity there again, but Timber Creek will be answered this time by the Renegades, who have had, unfortunately, a shortcoming of that defensive prowess that we've seen. Once again, Pinkish, well, didn't get enough on that one, so it just rolled. Not even menacingly. A little bit lack of velocity here towards that one, so a bit of a funny exchange. But regardless, I mean, the score still stays at this 3-0 mark.
You know what? I was looking. We were at in Gummy's POV, and dude stopped moving. He was like, "All right, this is gonna be a goal." Me too, Gummy. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? It's over. Let me just sit here and rest. And it didn't happen. He's like, "Oh, wait, I need to rotate. Let me go. let's start making this happen again." So, less than a minute right now here in game number 4. It would have been necessary for Suncoast to unlock match point first. They're gonna have another try at that later, as Timber Creek was not to let this one get out of hand and out of reach. They will be tying up this game as long as these points stand. I've kind of heavy confidence that it will. Crispy Bacon just making sure that that I stay also a little bit more correct.
It's a solid point. I think, you know, when we talk about these two teams in contrast, I feel like if a team is behind, that Timber Creek has the actual offensive prowess in order to come back and erase a big deficit, versus Suncoast Polytech, who it almost feels like it requires them to really dig deep, play disciplined, and get it back that way. And that's why I was thinking Timber Creek would close this one out, and sure enough, time will certainly secure it here at this point. So we'll go 2-2 in the series. Another awesome display here from Timber Creek early in this one, although Suncoast was able to get things going a little bit late. It was a little bit too late, and Timber Creek now equalize in 2-2 the series.
You know what? Whenever we had, what was it, a late goal in game number 2, that just catapulted Suncoast Polytech into taking over that game number 3 that got them that series lead. This one, even for, you know, being a much more, I guess it was a kind of a dominant first couple of minutes out of the Wolves, it was still a 3-0, solid. But the offense wasn't exactly lopsided. You had a 7-5. It's well within reason that some of those could have hit. But again, we were asking for, I guess, more lethality. Something just kind of unclicked. It's just, you know, seatbelt wasn't on, the comfort wasn't there, and the first couple of minutes kind of really did in the Renegades. They didn't really have a mindful response to get this game back in line. And so now we go dead even going to game number 5.
Yeah, but again, it's a clean slate, a new game walking into the next one, and the way that this series has trended, there's absolutely no sign of which direction it's going to go at. I do know that it's been, over the course of this series, the team that scores first has had the success, has been able to hold on every single time. So certainly you play into that. You know, it's not a given that if you score first that you're going to win, but we like to favor that one. And both teams really do favor playing with that lead. It shows in their gameplay completely. So if you're Suncoast Polytech or Timber Creek at this point in time, that's your aim here, is to get out there and strike first.
Will the first strike be the one necessary to find a dub? Do we get answers? Do we change the pattern? Does history repeat itself? Do we see an early goal? No! Right off the pipeline. Crispy Bacon waited for all of a single extra step, but the offense is hitting early here for the Wolves.
Oh, Thick Piggy with that boost steal as well. This will make it easy for him to just tap into middle. There is somebody there, but Crispy Bacon on it as well. We'll try to waterfall this one down. A bit of trouble trying to handle that one as well from Suncoast Polytech. I'll open the door for Thick Piggy with lots of room to work with. We'll leave it for a teammate in Crispy Bacon, try to get a shot off, but he was shielded out by a defending member of the Renegades, and now they'll have to play from midfield, but they do have a little bit of vision. Shot taken. That was a hot one as well, but defended well as well.
Great looks, great reads. Soapy's actually going to early bail and going to leave Gummy to this one unless it comes off angle. Looking for the double tap. It was Thick Piggy that had to know that if he did not get a piece of it, it was going to be going a bad way. Xanox had a chance to really kind of cut into that gap as well. So the first minute, we leave ourselves scoreless. Usually whenever that the first half, the first couple here, Bear, have gone into kind of 0-0s, we've seen a lot more of Suncoast Polytech that's able to rotate a lot more soundly upfield and find success.
Yeah, it's good when your mentality isn't broken in the first 30 seconds because Timber Creek is just laying it on and has to show for off the bat. That certainly helped, and they have an opportunity here as well, as that one was tapped across the box, but couldn't find it. Now open shot taken by Crispy Bacon with a good answer. Here's Xanox right back on it. This is an opportunity, and now they're not able to convert on it, though. as Pinkish was up just in time to get it. It looked like Timber Creek had a couple members that were there, but none of them could quite turn the corner.
It was an awkward moment where you had rotated like into the box, and then everything is just a split-second reaction off of a kind of a an alley-oop, someone just trying to get a defensive position, and then the same offensive reach comes up, and like even right now, Soapy has run out of boost, and so Gummy comes to try and fill that gap, but he can't really do too much more as he's taken what 2 or 3 touches from that corner. That's kind of a one-touch rotate out situation and placement. So. Go now to the Timber Creek Wolves coming through. Suncoast Polytech had their time, and the Wolves are trying at theirs. It is a foot race. It's a jailbreak. Can they beat the Warden? No.
A bit of miscommunication again, though, and then a loss of 50-50 falls off the post as well. Pinkish will leave it. This one will be lofted. Pinkish in an awkward spot, needs some help, and will get it from Crispy Bacon before the Renegades can get to it, but they're still not done, still not out of harm's way. This one will drop down in the corner where Soapy will look to follow it. He ran out of boost, or just actually wanted to rotate back around, rather, and now he's the third one back, so he's just going to chop it in wisely, drop back, and let the rest of his team rotate behind.
I'm gonna tell you right now, based on the current ID and current just the kind of the DNA of this game, if Suncoast Poly loses this game, they're gonna lose the series because they have had such a huge presence upfield, and even though there's been some awkward rotation, they have been crowding the box of Timber Creek, and if they don't walk away with this first goal as well as this game, I truly believe Timber Creek is gonna be taking the rest of this because it is gonna be frustrating how long they have been upfield without a goal.
Yeah, that's right. It's mind-bending. It's broken. Spirits at the end of the day. Plus, you're taking risks that Timber Creek, if they get any kind of confidence, we've seen what they've done. Again, just last game, was able to get a 3-0 win. I'll take that point, and I'll totally agree with you completely. Listen back out to Suncoast Polytech side. Want to be able to work it from that side, but they got Piggy really just trying to mess with them in the meantime. From the corner, they'll go. Try to tap it to themselves, but played a little bit too far away from themselves. And the back pass will set up Crispy Bacon. Soapy needs to be able to defend, and it will pinball off the member of Timber Creek. Otherwise, that was going to be a dangerous ball.
This is another dangerous ball, and you send one flying across. Timber Creek has made this field about a fifth as long as it was before. Looking for the double from the pipes. Oh, the fourth man showing up as the old iron rings out, and yet it is not in pain for the Suncoast Polytech. They have to take opportunity right now by the horns as this one goes flying outwards from Wolf territory into Renegade territory. They get up onto their horses and they're trying to saddle in. Can Gummy find a connection? No. Xanox in a 1v2. This one's gonna be boomed away, and there's just nonstop rainbows getting formed from the lines of where these shots are going out. We have 20 seconds to figure out if we're gonna do this in regulation or if overtime is cometh.
The last couple of sequences have been great by Crispy Bacon, from the back play into the flip cancel that led him into another chance. But now an opportunity. Suncoast Polytech, last little bit, they weren't able to get a touch defensively for the Wolves. This one sent back towards them, but hit to the ground. For the first time in the series, believe it or not, we go to overtime with 2 apiece here in the series.
A 1-0, a blowout, a blowout, a blowout. We have had kind of, it's just like you've been mentioning, crazy times and ways to try and figure out what this is going to be. Last time we saw some fakes, it went the way of Timber Creek. That one's going to ride the post. If you're Xanox, you don't have any boost, but you don't have any problems because you have a teammate that's right to the outside, a double commit. Thick Piggy will step back. That's a passing play. They will read it, and this one will skim along the grass, immediately pop back up. Pinkish. Thick Piggy will be in support right behind him. Gummy has really started to show up. Their wheels are turning, but they don't want to be burning. This one comes out. You send another defender. Oh, for the ricochet. The defense standing strong for Suncoast.
I was just about to credit Suncoast for cutting off some of the passing plays like we saw earlier, but then they took a second and hesitated and almost led to their downfall here in this game. Luckily for them, still alive in this overtime sequence as we play about a minute into overtime. In game number 5, Soapy trying to just get it out of dodge. This time it's set up for a member of their team to also chop it out. It's Xenox. But now a combination of the two, but they played it a little bit slower than what's comfortable there as the Renegades had an opportunity. But Crispy Bacon now on the drive, pass left for Pinkish, but he's just gonna have to bank it off. Couldn't quite find that angle. It'll bounce and make its way all the way back out to midfield.
They're prioritizing getting someone to bite onto these challenges. They are shoulder checking, they're head faking from out of the side of the Wolves. That's a nice little cut with no boost, giving his teammates an extra opportunity. They will double stack. The problem with that is that neither one was able to make a connection. Suncoast Polytech, they have one look at offense, and then it all just kind of goes asunder. Thick Piggy is calling off their teammate so they can have this one to the backboard. There's not a lot of boost collected between these. Xanox will have the full tank. He gets bullied a little bit. This one's looking for a bump. It is going to drop across the box. How desperate right now are the Renegades for some boost? They finally get it clear. Thick Piggy's going to try and use the entirety of it. That's a free net. This will be a game win. Match point will go to the Wolves.
And it just took a little bit of discipline and waiting back. Thick Piggy played the long possession game. He started with possession all the way on the left side of the offensive side of the field for the Timber Creek, bounced it all the way around, and then took place, baited out the defense, and an easy tap-in is what leads them to match point, and one game separates them from the Florida repeat title.
10 shots to the 7 out of Suncoast. We saw some life, and I honestly do not hope that what I called before, Bear, comes to fruition. I want to see how this roller coaster ride continues to go because it feels deserving of a game number 7. That being said, I will stand by what I said because we got to see a lot of offense early on collected by the Renegades. I wholesale believe that the majority of those 10 shots by the Wolves out of Timber Creek were in overtime, where they had them locked back and locked into a cage until eventually something had to break.
I like your point, but not so fast, my friend. These finals matchups, they always seem to just absolutely favor the ones that might be down and seem like they might be out. I feel like backs against the wall really does bring out the best in a lot of these players. I see no exception, especially with the team that has played discipline, that has played off of the back of the success and aggression of Timber Creek, aggressively working their way to match point. I think Suncoast Polytech, if they're not able to win and get back into the series, I know that they'll make it dang close, and I think they will push towards a Game 7, but we'll have to see now as we see the countdown into game number 6 as it begins now.
All of you out there in Dr. Phillips High School gymnasium, you better be getting loud. I want those all those consoles and computers and everything to have to shake, rattle, and roll through the deafening roar of some cheers. Friends, family, and everyone else faculty-wise that's been supporting of these players and these teams. You know they're not going to let this one go down easy. So this one ends up being a crazy one. Crispy bacon. I've seen OG get sealed away.
I thought Suncoast Polytech was going to challenge them, not Timber Creek challenging themselves, but here we are. Luckily, they were able to keep it out, but for how long? Look, as the last back is already pushed up pretty quickly. That'll require a pinkish touch, and he does a great job to manage it, even low on boost, as he just tapped at the corner and bought a little bit of time here for the Wolves to reorganize early in this game. Soapy looks to challenge in, but he's going to be beat to it. Again, quick commits, quick decisions being made by the Wolves continue to just fluster them. It'll pinball off the defender as well. Timber Creek with the lead.
So far, the pattern has not changed. First team to score wins. It doesn't matter if it's overtime or otherwise. That may be the one that damns and does it here for the Timber Creek Wolves over Suncoast. Now, tough call because you never know when the net's gonna kind of vacuum in the ball, and so they both went for it. I give them credit for trying, but eventually something had to kind of break down. Soapy is gonna receive this one just beyond Xanox, and Thick Piggy won't have anyone really in support, but they're the ones that's supporting as they went for the Goomba.
Yeah, just trying to keep them in place, quite literally. The way that you do that is physically with your car and trying to just basically put them out of their misery, if you will, to some degree. Has been a good series for them, don't get me wrong. But they need to be able to continue. They need to create and generate chances. Right now, they're going horizontally more than they're going vertically. And it's no fault of their own. It's really just the Wolves being aggressive, knowing when to come in and challenge to make it difficult. But finally, an opportunity arises. A little bit of space here for Suncoast Polytech. But when they try to get to the Bucks, Thick Piggy there instead, and the bump will free it up. But they have a bit of an issue there from the Wolves, but they will be able to manage to get it all the way back out. In fact, an opportunity to tap it here to the Bucks. And offensively, they go for Timber Creek. And Gummy just having to loft it up for a teammate, but even they are a little bit confused as far as when to go to it. Chaos will ensue here at midfield, and still no end in sight here, as these teams are really starting to show a little bit of their nerves right now, as it hasn't been the cleanest game thus far.
They're wearing their heart on their sleeve. Everything has been exposed. The heart palpitations for me, for you, for the family. I don't know how we didn't have another goal in that entire kind of successive movement. There definitely seemed to be very little boost. In fact, the majority of boost that was being found out of the Renegades seemed to be when they were getting demoed, finding yourself with a new 33-34. That's a chance. That's a shot. That's a save by Crispy Bacon. They knew that came off the wall. They had the best read and best understanding where that bounce was going to go. Saving out this 1-0 lead. Suncoast Polytech, again, they're being reset forcibly.
Crispy Bacon being the one bit of calm in this lobby currently, because that was a big mistake from them. They realized it, but you're right. They were in that position where they could manage it, and they did. Instead of the panic, they set in, were able to calm the nerves. Crispy Bacon now looking to get an outlet pass, was looking for Thick Piggy, but it was all the way across, so Pinkish had to try to chop at it and was able to get a touch. Now dropping it down, Thick Piggy able to recover on this one too. Bumper not, they'll be up 2-0.
Thick Piggy has just been such a moment and such a player to kind of recognize as being MVP status for Timber Creek. Crispy Bacon has had their moments. Pinkish has their moments. Thick Piggy started this series hot on the trot. They set that tone that is so necessary for good competition to really find just success, because it's not just about the mechanics and it's not just about handling yourself in a game. It's also about how you emotionally are able to provide that life and that spark, and really it has been there, especially when Thick Piggy has been around. This is 80 seconds to go. Game number 6. Suncoast Poly, they need one so soon.
That was a great read here for Zynox to try to put it back in. That extra touch, though, will be the last man back. Thick Piggy looking to turn on this one. We'll play it off the back wall now, trying to leave it for a teammate. Pinkish will be able to touch it, but he's backwards, so that'll just be a loft instead. Still nobody going for it, though. No extra touch here either. And right now, Timber Creek is showing that they've really gotten to the heads of Suncoast Polytech, who've had opportunity after opportunity, but their time is running thin.
45 seconds remaining. Renegades got to get renegading. You got Soapy. He's going to have this extra travel, but everyone knows from Timber Creek they just have to just go away. Great tackle. Gummy helps him out. Soapy was able to set it up. It was this fantastic 50 right there. He just keeps on going, does not leave a chance unguarded, and they finally put one on the board, cut this lead in half. They've got time here, Bear.
Instead of just feeling sorry for herself for not getting the flip reset, Soapy just dropped to the ground and was able to challenge that 50-50 low and be able to just chop it up. I love that no-quit attitude that we're seeing from the Renegades, but they need one more. Here at midfield, it'll just bounce its way back out. Opportunity, don't touch it, and now punched out by Suncoast. Luckily for the Wolves, it's back out to the corner instead. Still being challenged here. Across it goes. And now Pinkish in full control, just needs to kill some clock. Played a little bit far ahead of himself. Here's Zynox trying to play it into the zone. 4 seconds remain. Now down to the ground. Zynox gonna have a feed. Soapy trying to play it in as well, but it's chopped down to the ground. And Timber Creek High School will be your champions of Florida.
Good old two-time. They will win, not just in the fall, but in the spring. Wolves will bring it, and they will definitely have themselves as that number 1 seed walking into from Florida for their state, as well as kind of going into that big PlayVS Cup. They're looking so hot right now, Bear. And that is a team that also showed that they can kind of receive their punches and still learn some lessons. And you know what? I kind of hate that my call was right. It just felt like that mental boom. You couldn't get the job done in regulation, and then overtime basically walked you out of the stadium, and the Wolves took over.
Yeah, I think we're kind of both right to some degree, even though we had opposing views, and that's because Timber Creek eventually walked away from it. But that was the best that Suncoast Polytech looked operating with a deficit, right? In that series, it seemed like whenever they got behind, they could not find answers. They did find one, Granted, a lot of desperation diving. You saw 2 members into the net in order to make it happen, and then had that last little push, but just not enough. But what a season it was for Suncoast Polytechnical. This is a Timber Creek team, the exact same roster that was able to just sweep their way through and literally just win Florida Association of School Administrators, a Rocket League, all the way through. So the fact that you were able to put 2 games onto this team is certainly something to hold your heads high for, because my goodness, this is a team that's up and coming for sure.
It definitely is. And you know what? There's probably some players on this one that, depending on whatever kind of level of school grade that they are, be it a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, they may be looking to kind of go local for one of their own esports programs. I know University of Florida Blue, that's a really good squad. So maybe check out this Timber Creek crew. They've won Florida twice. Maybe someone to look at. But that's going to be their win, 4-2. They will take the FASA championship, and I cannot wait to see them go further onto like a national scale. And I think that's all we got for right now on the Rocket League side here, Bear.
That's right. Again, congratulations to Timber Creek High School, your FASA champions on the PlayVS Network. We've got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate on the other side of this break. So again, park it right here on this channel, and we'll see you in just a bit.